originating from the podcast studio inside FAM 360's headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. This is the Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast. The Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast is designed to encourage, equip, and inspire our audience through a combination of inspirational stories and real-life experiences shared by other successful and skilled leaders in a variety of vocations. We hope that the Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast empowers each one of us to step out, step up, and ultimately thrive as leaders. Now here's our host, Mr. Matt Maloney.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Matt Maloney. I am grateful. I'm excited. I am fired up. I am fired up to be back in the studio today with Mr. Jude Crowell. If you didn't listen to the last episode, the first episode of this two-part series, I encourage you to go back, hit pause for a second, go back and listen to the first episode. So much great conversation, great wisdom shared by Jude, just about some of his life story, his career, little wisdom nuggets on leadership. I really do encourage you. It was fantastic. We kept rolling and we could have kept going, but that's why we have two-part episodes for our great guests like Jude. I'd like to share this quote from Bob Goff with the audience that I think that also embodies, personifies some of you. Every day we get to choose whether to give the microphone to hope or to fear. The choice we make is the life we will lead. God is good.
Amen.
First of all,
100%. Every day.
And if we're willing to submit and give, and I believe this, and whether members of our audience do or don't believe this, whatever your faith may be, and that's okay. I'm just sharing with you what I believe. But we submit every day to the Creator.
Amen.
And we're gonna encounter trials, but we can do it with hope.
Yeah. And faith, right? Because that faith,
No doubt,
like fires up that hope, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
without a doubt.
You know, living in fear is so like we've all been there, right? We've all been terrified of what are people going to think or what's going to happen. And you know, I think about 2020. We started Invicta Health Solutions, terrified, right? Terrified. We had no
tough
clients.
Time to start a business, right?
Right. Smart, right? Yeah. But we had, you know, we didn't have clients. We didn't have employees. We were like, let's go. But, you know, quickly we got a client and we started moving and we got, you know, folks. But boy, I remember getting on my knees and saying, God, just give it. I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
Scared to death, but I know you have a plan.
I trust
and I have faith. And then waking up every day, right? You got to wake up every day and choose to show up.
Yeah.
Choose to make a difference.
Yeah.
Choose to not live in fear because, man, it's disabling and it does you no good.
Yeah, that's right.
It does you no good.
It does you no good.
You know, a friend of mine, says to me, like, jealousy is a wasted emotion. Fear is a wasted emotion. It's just wasted.
Yep.
When you're fearful of what people are going to think or what other folks are going to say or how they're going to view you, who cares?
Yeah. Well, look, for the audience that haven't heard this, but fear is the ultimate liar.
Oh yeah.
Right. In our life. Right. It's that fear that those lies that we tell ourselves and that weave their way into our mind. And they have an incredible way of impacting us in a negative way, and we have to choose. We have to choose going the other direction with hope and trust and faith. So, hey, I'd love to start off with a couple of fun questions.
Sure.
So, and on this episode, the audience is going to get to learn a little bit more about Jude on the personal side, a little bit.
I'm an open book. I always have been. Let's go. We're going. Let's go.
All right. So, first of all, real simple softball question: favorite movie.
Ooh.
And why is it your favorite movie?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I mean, it's easy to go like with Braveheart. You're right, right. It's so easy. Like, William Wallace. Who wouldn't want to be William Wallace? Except toward the end.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But the very first movie I ever saw, was in Nashville, where I grew up and still live, was The Jungle Book.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's just so much in that, like, this boy just was fearless and just went after it and didn't know to be afraid. And he had people that helped him, or animals that helped him along the way. And he grew in the process. So I just think that's just such a fun message for, like, And then at the end, he just changed up, right?
Yeah.
He changed it up.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Change is fine.
That's fine.
And so
Part of the journey.
So stupid, but it's the Jungle Book.
I like it. I like it. All right. So if there was a movie about your life,
Right.
who would play you?
Oh, that's terrible. I mean, I would like to say it's Brad Pitt, right? Or Jude Law, right? Like me and Jude are like Jude Law cousins, right? And we're Judes together.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, no. It would probably be like it would be Zach Galifianakis. Right? Bearded, kind of chubby. Let's go with it, right?
Love it.
If Zach ever listens to this, I'm not calling you chubby. I'm calling you thick. That's it. Or yeah.
Thick and confident.
Thick and confident, right.
That's it.
Brilliant.
I love it.
Yeah, so probably Zach Galifianakis would probably pay me.
All right. What 3 words would your family, and maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your wife, but just somebody in your family, what 3 words would your family use to describe Jude?
Oh.
Ooh, this could be painful.
This is painful.
This could be painful.
This is a deep introspection of honesty. Like, are my siblings calling this?
Yeah.
My mom saying this?
Who is it?
Who is it? My kids?
We can give a little Baskin Robbins, some 31 flavors here.
Yeah. What do you want to go? We can go with my mom. Of course, your mom loves you
Yeah.
unconditionally, right?
Yeah.
She's going to be like, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
My siblings would be like, he's a punk. He's a loudmouth. My kids would probably be like, embarrassing. I'm going to choose that what my wife would say.
Okay. Good choice.
Right. So I think my wife would say dutiful. I think my wife would say kind. I think my wife would say compassionate. I would hope, right? And
Dutiful, kind, and compassionate.
And kind of love.
That's
like,
great.
I think she would say like he's full of love, and that would be my. I mean, ultimately, to be full of love, right? Would be. I would hope my kids would say that eventually.
Tell me about your family. We talked on the last episode a little bit about your upbringing, and I think you were on a farm, or you had a farm in the family, I should say.
Yeah, we still do.
Yeah, and you still do have a farm. But just tell me about your family right now, your wife, kids, and anything else
Absolutely,
you want to share?
sure. I have these siblings that are just brilliant, just amazing people, right?
That's great.
And then my kids, I mean, when you talk about your kids, right, they're like, how do you not? Like, our 25-year-old is, gosh, she's just amazing. And she puts people first, and she got a degree in social work. And then my 20-year-old son's at college and loving life. I think he likes college too much.
Hey, that's okay.
God bless him. He's keeping his grades
We were
up,
all there.
right? I'm not mad at him.
Who wouldn't still want to be in college if you're, if you're not married and have a family? What else is there to do? Be in college.
Be in college, right? Why would I not want to be in college, right? And then my 16-year-old, she's so smart, such a hard worker, and my 13-year-old is very similar to me. So she challenges me a lot,
Sure, yeah.
right? But God, man, her heart and who she is. I'm just so blessed with how smart they are, and just so all 4 of them are just brilliant. And then my wife is. I mean, she saved my life. I mean, to be brutally honest,
that's great.
I mean, without her, my walk with God would be different. And without her, like, just, I was a walk in bad decision, and then met her, and she really, I mean, as a man, to have that partner, to have someone who challenges you to be a better person every single day, because left up to our own devices, especially my own devices, I can be a hot mess, right?
Right.
Like, let's be honest about guys. If it weren't for kids and women, we would probably have a recliner in front of a TV on concrete blocks,
and we would do nothing. Yeah. I want to pivot for a second, and I want to talk about, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this in the first episode, but and we'll pivot back to some personal things, but in leadership and in kind of the corporate world today in leadership, arguably there's a number of character traits that are vitally important for leaders, right? And it's not really just one.
Right.
And I believe, and I've said this before, that there's not one that is the most dominant. Although if you look at scientific research, if you look at research done by universities, people that are far smarter than we are, they've highlighted arguably 1 or 2 that are the most important.
Right.
I think who you ask, depending upon the leader and the type of leader, and perhaps even the type of organization, one of these certainly elevates. But I'm gonna kind of rapid fire a few of these off to you, and you tell me which one you think, in your opinion, is fundamentally the strongest character trait needed by great leaders.
I love it.
Okay.
Let's go.
So vision would be one.
Yeah.
Passion or the ability to inspire others.
Yeah.
Critical thinking.
Yeah.
Being a critical
Huge.
thinker to be able to navigate through
Huge.
different things.
Massive.
Communication and relationships.
Well, that's
I know that's your song. That's your dance.
Marinate in that a little bit.
That's your dance. Emotional intelligence or EQ,
Huge.
which by the way is one of the ones that is at the top of some of the scholars list. Empathy. Brene Brown, who's a world-renowned author, and she's talked and public speaker. She's talked about how empathy is probably the greatest asset that leaders can have. And I fall very short at times on the empathy scale, depending upon sympathy and empathy are different things. And
Absolutely.
I can sympathize really well. Sometimes I have a harder time empathizing, but it deals with my personality in that it requires some intentional time to just sit with that person or those people in that particular scenario. And I self-admittedly do struggle with that a little bit.
I get that.
Authenticity and integrity and creativity. So again, vision, passion and inspiration, critical thinking, communication and relationships is one, EQ or emotional intelligence, empathy, authenticity and integrity or creativity.
So those are smart people. I'm going to throw honesty in there because being honest and authentic to yourself is huge, right?
Yeah.
And to other people. So you can have relations, you can have vision, but if it's not an honest vision, it's not. People aren't going to follow that.
Sure.
They're like to say, oh yeah, we're going to do it, but you don't really believe it yourself.
Yeah.
And I've tried to lead in those situations, and it's failed miserably. So authenticity and that honesty and being honest with folks is part of it. And I'm going to use a word that I used last time, which is sacrifice, right? Like, I think sacrifice is huge in terms of people seeing that you're willing to make the sacrifices to lead or to grow your vision or to
pour into that organization, pour into those people.
It takes sacrifice. I mean, it's easy to say, oh, well, how that person gets so successful or how that person lead that organization, not even success, but a lot of it is because they chose to make sacrifices in their lives to perpetuate that vision or to grow those relationships or to be empathetic or to sit with that person and spend that time with that person. I think that, and you use sacrifices, a lot of people use it as a dirty word. I don't see it as a dirty word at all.
No,
I think
I don't
more of our leaders in public life could make more of sacrifices and be more honest. That I think that right there is what to me makes a difference and makes a leader with all those characteristics too. And the people that decided that list are far smarter than I am. True. Yeah. But I think that honesty and sacrifice have to be part of all of those things as well. So, if you wanted me to choose off that, it's relations, like being relational with people and really getting to know somebody and spending time in just living with them, like being part of their story. And I mean, it requires a sacrifice of yourself there too, right? Because it's really easy for us to get carried.
Well, the interesting thing too is really all of these things, when you really sit and think about them, they're all interconnected. They're one each part of the other. They're intersecting circles. If you think that's the way that I visualize it,
like the Olympic circles, like
just like that. And so they're all really playing off of each other. And so it's hard. I think about this often. Which one's the most important? I lean back towards the communication relationship piece. The relationship and community. That's what I lean towards. I just feel like that's such a powerful component to lead people, to be able to have and to build the relational equity, to be able to then subsequently communicate and communicate what we're doing, why we're doing it. It's interesting that you mentioned sacrifice, because I was thinking about this when you were talking about it. And I wouldn't say arguably, but perhaps on the broader scale, people would say arguably the greatest leader that ever walked the face of the earth was Jesus. And he is the ultimate sacrifice. Right. Like, so, and I see so many folks. The impact that he had.
Oh, it's crazy
today. What I mean, whatever your beliefs are, it is undisputable that no person that's ever walked the face of the earth has had a greater impact.
Agreed.
Than him.
Hands down. And you think about the humility and the kindness with which he led, right? There was kindness in everything that he did. Even when he was firm, he was kind.
Yes.
And so you think about being kind, you think about making sacrifices for other people. And I think that is truly what being a great leader is about, is putting other people first and making sacrifices. And because at the end of the day, it's not about you. It never is. It never has been. Right. And so to put other people first. And I mean, listen, I've failed this so many times to try to, walk the walk that Jesus walked. I failed so many miserably times.
As we all do.
Like so imperfect. And I have friends right now that'd be like, you messed that one up. And which is great because they hold me accountable. And I'm so thankful for my peer group, my boys and my people that pour into me. I'm so thankful for them. And, they speak truth to me. And sometimes it's hard to hear, but all that to say is that, I agree with you 100%. Jesus is the greatest leader of all time that has made the biggest impact. And he did it through sacrifice and kindness and putting other people first.
That's it.
And showing love. Right? Just showing love.
Yeah.
And we can do that every day. Yeah. And we can do that every day.
Yeah.
Right? We can do that for people we've never met before. We can do that when we check out, when we go to Waffle House and eat. We can show love to people just by being kind or being, cleaning up after yourself or doing those little things to make, a difference for other people.
The everyday leader.
I
think a lot of people oftentimes think about life, and we think about in our workplace, in our personal life, having what a lot of people like to refer to as work-life balance. We like to talk about, and we've talked about it on a recent episode, I've talked about it on other episodes, but I look at it a little bit differently, and I look at it in terms of a rhythm, a life rhythm, because I think that at any given time, there's never a balance because one thing is dominating in our life versus the other. That just is a fact. How do you find rhythm or balance with your family and your professional life? Are there things that you do? And then what are some, perhaps applicable ways that you can share with the audience that you do this?
Oh, sure. I'm probably the worst person to ask about balance because I bring my personal life into my professional life all the time. Right?
Sure.
My kids know what Dad does. They know people that I work with, clients, perspective. We bring it into our lives. Like when people talk about a work week, I don't even think of a work week. I love what I do. I love helping people and being involved with people, and I love my team.
It's my life week.
Right. Yeah. And so I'm probably the worst person to do that because I bring my kids, are involved in everything. Obviously I make sure I go pick them up, make sure I get them to school and all those other things. And so there's the balance of schedule with your family.
Yeah.
But it's been fun for me because I've pulled them into everything. Like I said, in the previous episode, I talked about, I was working with these kids 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then on the 2 days I had off, I was a totally different person. And so I married this. I was like, I need to be the same guy all the time, whether someone's looking or not looking.
Yep.
And so professionally, I've brought that into professionally as well. Like I'm an open book. My life is my life. Like here it is.
Yep.
We all have our secrets here or there, but for the most part, you ask me a question, I'm like, here it is.
Yeah.
Right. This is who I am, and these are my kids, and this is my life, and this is my company, and let's go.
That's that authenticity, right? That we talked about, and being transparent about things. And
agreed.
But in the closer, whether human beings ever reach that ultimate, like we are fully, naked and transparent about everything. I don't know if we ever do, but I do know that the closer we go to that, and the closer that we submit, the more authentic our lives are, and the more we ultimately do thrive as a person.
So I guess to answer your question, because I'm really bad at it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's good.
But to be really honest, and the other thing that, but there are times you have to take time for yourself. You have to reflect. You have to grow yourself a little bit spiritually and challenge yourself, because ultimately it's you.
Yeah.
We all die alone.
Yeah.
Right. That's just the reality. We all die alone. And you have to look deep inside ourselves to be the type of people we want to be.
Yeah, that's good. So right now, if through all the things that you've went through in your life, all the experiences that you've had, where you're at today, and as a father, as a business leader, and as a father, you're speaking to your children, try to give them advice.
Non-stop.
But let's put Jude with Jude. Let's go back 30 years, 25, 30 years. What kind of advice would you give yourself, the younger Jude, and maybe think of one of the most pivotal times in your life? Maybe it was a time that you were in deep struggle or you were in deep transition. What kind of advice would you give yourself? And now that with all the experiences that you've gained throughout your journey?
That's a brutal question, because obviously I would say patience. Time heals almost all wounds, and even though you want it healed now, take the time, patience, trust that God has a plan for you, and follow that plan, and sometimes just slow down. Enjoy what's happening around you. It's not about the next or moving or doing.
Live in the present moment.
And I think the final thing is, no one cares. At the end of the day, like, if you remember the bad things you say far more than the person that you said them to. Like, stop like living that stuff in your head. Get out of that.
Let it roll off. Let it roll off you.
Forgive yourself. Ask for forgiveness and just move on. Right. Because people, I think about, we all have a tendency to relive moments in our head where we're like, oh, if I should have said this or done that, or, I think about, man, I should have done this differently. And it's okay. The person that I was involved with or whatever happened, they've probably already moved on. They've forgotten about it. 90% of the time, they didn't even affect them. Like, remember when I wore that really bad shirt? And they're like, what are you talking about? I don't even, you're like, yeah, but I don't. Not at all. So you just forgive yourself, forgive them, and move on.
That's good. That's great advice. Just curious, any goals that you have, not professionally, but personally for yourself right now, something you and your wife might be working on, or just you, or what?
Absolutely. I think that setting goals is huge, right? As a leader, you set goals. I think continuing to grow our company is phenomenal. I'm so blessed to be surrounded by the great leaders that I have. I started the company with 2 other people, and they are phenomenal leaders, and they speak truth to me, and they lead in different ways, and they're brilliant, and they're so much smarter than me, and I'm thankful for that. And so part of my goal is just to continue to grow, like, every single day, and challenge myself to grow, like, professionally. What can I do better? I mean, my email writing is questionable. So what can I do better? What can I do better? Better email writer. Putting my family first and making sure that they stay focused, and I stay focused on them. And when I say first, obviously God comes first, and then putting my family and professionally growing, doing, little things, like, obviously showing up is important, but like becoming a better email writer, like paying attention to who writes good emails and saying, how can I learn from that person who writes great emails?
That communication skill.
Right. Or, I love how they led this. I work on the parking team at my church, and the leadership there is fun, right? The great leader, it's like, hey, go do your thing. And they trust us to do it. And it's fun for me as a leader to not be a leader, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
To just be part of the crew and just
takes all the pressure off.
And I find, and I'm sure you do too, like, once you start leading, that's where you kind of see yourself all the time.
Yeah, you're drawn to it a little bit. Yeah,
right.
That's right.
And so it's so fun to sometimes not be a leader.
Yeah.
And so to just sit back and observe and just be a worker bee. And so that's one of the things that I really struggle with. And I'm like, I need to be a better worker bee.
Yeah.
And you don't have to come in and take anything over.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
It's nice to not have to have that pressure on you, right? Let me go and serve others because that's a natural thing for you, right? To serve others, but let me serve in this other capacity. I don't need to think. Just lead me to water and I'll figure out how to drink it.
Right. And so that's something definitely that I've been working on as a growth plan. And obviously, personally, I want to stay, I want to stay healthy. I want to keep my health, and I want to keep trying to stay healthy, and I definitely fail at that regularly.
Hey, look, you can balance biscuits. You can balance biscuits in the gym. Okay?
But can you?
I don't know.
But can you? It's hard to carry a plate of biscuits on a treadmill. Trust me.
That's true. Have you tried that?
Shove them in, and then there's a little thing, like I would try to grow my relationship with the Lord, try to do those things like on a daily basis. So I have those, like we've talked about before, there's 4 things I try to do every day. I try to learn something every day. I work every day. I try to educate myself on something. I try to relax every day, and I try to play a little bit every day and then reflect on those things. So
that's great.
A lot of fun.
Okay. So last question. It's at the end of your life. It's all said and done.
Yeah.
You think about your family, your closest friends. Let's just think about them.
Yeah.
Right? What do you hope they say about Jude and the kind of man that Jude was to them?
I would dare say I would hope. And
hope.
What I try, right? This hope is an amazing friend that tried to make a difference every single day for whoever, just tried to make a difference every day.
That's good.
And, at the end of the day, at the end of our lives, right, it's not about what we have. Who cares? No. That's so
meaningless.
Matter. It's so meaningless. I drive an old F-150 pickup truck and an old Ford Explorer for a reason, right? I don't care. It's not important to me. At the end of the day, did we make a difference in other people's lives? Every single day. What are you doing every single day to make a difference in other people's lives? And with your kids, with your friends, with your family, those are the things and we've said this a lot, which is blessed beyond measure, how many people have poured into me and given me, and I'm just hopeful to repay what they've done for me every single day by loving on people. And at the end of the day, that's what I hope. Paying it forward, because it doesn't matter. Like, we can't take our cars or houses with it. But man, if we can make a difference in even random strangers' lives, that's huge.
Love it.
And it changes the world. Those little things change the world.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope they say.
Hey, Jude Crowell.
Brother, thank you.
You're a great man.
And I'm very blessed.
You're a great man. You've got a great family around you. You continue to impact others. And I'm thankful that you joined us today. I'm thankful that you're here.
I'm so blessed to be here. And thank you for having me. And man, just keep it up. This is amazing. This is great stuff.
I'm enjoying it. This is good.
I'm going to put a little plug in. If you haven't listened to past episodes, you should go back and listen to past episodes. That was my radio voice announcer.
Yeah.
Voice.
He's got a great voice and face for radio.
Much better face. And I don't know if have you ever, does Siri, my phone can't understand anything I say. When I say directions, she's like, Mr. Shin's House of Young.
Oh, yeah.
She can't understand anything I say. So my radio voice is terrible.
I know.
You have a good one.
The Siri thing kind of just...
it's my Southernese.
My son, he can't get it to work. He's like, Dad, he doesn't have a phone or anything, but he has my phone sometimes. And he goes, can you just tell her this? And I got you.
Oh, have you done voice to text? Oh, my word. The things that come out of that. It's awesome.
Bizarre.
It's bizarre. I'm like, I can't even send this to you.
I know.
Totally digress. Sorry.
Well, hey, I'd like to close with this quote for our audience. Closing quote is, never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish it. The time will pass anyways. And that's from Earl Nightingale. Jude, thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Audience, we thank you to all of our subscribers and listeners out in podcast land. I hope today's episode was both empowering and inspirational. Until the next episode, I pray that our daily lives and journeys are filled with opportunities to lift others up as we aim to go above and beyond. Thanks, everybody.
Our executive producer and host is Matt Maloney, President and CEO of FAM360. Strategic Communication Coordinator, Michelle Ducato. Production assistance by Tin Dog Studios. Director, John Roland. Creative Assistant, Whitney Roland. Theme song, Connecting Dots by Curtis Cole, provided by Artlist. Please subscribe today and don't miss any of our weekly episodes.